Carl and Dan here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short. And it is track by track time, entering 2023, your first one of the year, by taking a look at an album called Love Is Not Enough by a band called Casey. I'd never heard of them at all. And even after doing a little bit of reading, I reckon I know just as little. All I've really got is that it's the debut album. They're a melodic hardcore, post-hardcore Welsh band. And this album was released in September of 2016 on Hassel Records. So quite a few years ago by this count. I thought it was going to be like last year, but I was, 2016. And they've had an album, I think at least one album since.
They broke up in 2018 and have just came back.
That's right, of course.
That's why they're in my forefront again.
That's the detail I saw. Yes, of course. They split and then came back in quickish fashion. But obviously, this is your choice. This is what one you wanted to do. Any particular reason why?
I just really like the album, and with Casey's return and how much I've seen talked about it in the spaces I interact in,
so this is more, you're not too aware of this band or weren't as aware of this band, but it's via word of mouth more than anything else.
I knew of them before they came back. I enjoyed them, but them coming back has piqued my interest again, essentially.
Okay. See, word of mouth still matters to a certain degree. People talk about bands, and particularly in your friends, and if you all share similar tastes of music, you might find a band you don't know much about. Obviously, that's kind of how it works sometimes between even father and son. In this case, sometimes you find a band you like, choose an album or something that you're blown away by. Other times, like this, you just go, all right, that was fine. Look, that's it. I'm going to tell you right now. I like this album. I like songs on this album, but I didn't come away blown away. And I don't have a consensus to go on. It's not like I was able to read it and go, wow, I'm in a minority here, and everyone is saying this is the best thing ever, or what, because I had nothing to go on. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, yeah, that's a good album, but I couldn't really go, oh, that was amazing. That's kind of how it was for me. I'll take it you're a big fan of this.
I like a lot of what this album's got to give. Some of it not so much.
Okay.
Kind of middle of the road for me.
Okay, that's cool. I was wondering, if this album was going to be you were going to be staunch defending, no, this is brilliant and this is why and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see what tracks then we kind of meet on the middle at, so to speak. Because I don't think there's anything in this album I would actively say I hate. There's nothing like that. So we'll get started then, because a few tracks to get through, and we begin with Bloom. This has a long intro that kind of gives way to an explosive array of passionate hardcore noise, notable for the intensity of guitars and the drops into emotive melody. Immediately, I was like, this is very familiar sounding. I got to be honest, it was very familiar sounding. There's a lot of bands like this doing it, and I'm thinking, okay. And I was struggling, like, well, what makes this band so special? There's nothing wrong with this opener, but for me, there's nothing great about it either. It's just, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I think it feels like a sort of apt intro for an album like this. Lots of spoken word, screamy lyrics, the super long intro, and there's something about his vocal delivery, I think, that does something for me. It's the kind of almost spoken screaming with everything he's got to give.
Okay.
Like you'll have like voice cracks and stuff, and
of course,
yeah, that sort of thing. I really like about that, and that feels like a lot of what this is.
Yeah, I think there are times, I'll even comment on the vocals in specific circumstances like what you're describing there. But up next, we get Little Bird. This is a more enjoyable track for me. There's some prominent and powerful riffs. There's a much more melodic tone in the vocals at times too. And when they let loose, it sounds particularly raw. I can feel the passion in this track. This was a better one for me.
Yeah, I think it is an absolutely heartbreaking song as the theme of this kind of album.
Yeah.
The raw emotion here is like, I haven't seen this sort of thing before in other music. I've seen sad songs, but not quite this upsetting, I don't think. The vocal delivery of You're looking confused.
No, carry on. I'm gonna respond to something you've said there, but carry on.
Okay. I think the vocal delivery here is particularly there. The shrill screams, half spoken lines, voice cracks all add to it. And I think this is all of this combined with like lyrics about lost love, makes it a really hard hitting song.
Hmm. What you said there is something I did that is actually an area I did dive a little bit into in regarding comments and stuff like that. And I understand the theme of this song and some of the themes around the album in regards to like pain, suffering, lost loves, and heartbreak and things like that. And I completely understand. And I also know how relevant that could be. That's relevant no matter the era to a degree. It's relevant to everyone as well at some point in your life. We're not just talking about lost loves here in regards to a partner. In that regards, it can be simply family members. You can attach it to everything. So I completely get that. I really do. And obviously, in metal, in all music, there are countless scenarios and examples you can use. I didn't feel it with this one. And I consider myself a highly an emotional person that can feel things from music and so on, that kind of thing. I didn't feel it here. And I enjoyed Little Bird for its music rather than its tone.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, no worries. All right, Darling. Heavy on the melodrama here. This one does have more emotional value, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I find it a bit boring. I kept waiting for that hook, but I never quite got it, unfortunately. Credit where credit is due though. This is a track that, for me, really enhances the post side of the band, which, for me, as a fan of that overarching genre, is nice.
I think with how hard Little Bird hits, that this serves as a sort of mental rest coming from it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes listening to these kind of songs and albums can bog you down a bit mentally. Lyrically, it's much of the same, but I think it serves as a nice transitional track between this and the next one.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, because the next one is Sleep, a hyperactive blast of hardcore energy that pushes the limits of Casey's intensity to very high levels. The vocals are a bit too much at times for me. I think in the mix in particular, I was like, Jesus, I want to hit, I felt it didn't work as strongly for me here. But I can get into this one because the instruments are super wild. So yeah, this is a cool one.
I think the instrumental really comes through on this one, and the vocals could definitely be drawn back a little bit to let the instrumental have its kind of time, I suppose. I'd really like to see like just an instrumental version of this track released.
Ooh, good shout. Yeah, that would be cool. I'm glad I wasn't quite alone on that feeling there. Happy. Obviously, it's called Happy, but if you've made it this far, I saw that and well, it's probably not gonna be. It's around a minute and a half of calming melody that has a slight uptick. I like the melody. I like the hushed vocals. It is what it is, an intermission. It's fine.
Yeah, it's a nice transitional track. There's not much more to be said there.
It is that, exactly. And then we get Haze. This is an example for me of the more elaboration that Casey can have. It's a more elaborate Casey track. Here we get insipid sounding melodrama. And I know how harsh that sounds, but that's what comes to mind. I write what comes to mind. Insipid sounding melodrama that inevitably grows and grows into something more powerful and punchy. The hardcore intensity is on point, but it's the post rhythm that is layered over everything that makes this a notable listen for me.
I think the way they layer their guitars, they've got that super kind of grungy post guitar going over it, but it's the way they have their leads kind of set out, quite tucked back in between everything in the mix, that makes this track good for me.
Okay.
I don't think it would do loads for me otherwise. I like it, especially when it gets to that slower bit around 2.5 minutes in. I think that's when it gets good, because I don't think Casey at their best is just slamming as hard as they can. I think the more melodic side, and where they take the time to kind of think about what they're doing
Right.
is when they get good.
Interesting criticism. I like it. Passion Flowers. The dour tone of this track, alongside the spoken word vocals, add more misery to what has been a pretty miserable sounding release for the most part. Here, though, it's up quite significantly. And putting it simply, folks, I don't care for this one. I don't dislike it, but I just don't care for it. I'm like, okay, fine.
I think it fits really nicely in the album, and I really enjoy it. Maybe not as a song to listen to, but as a concept. Like, I do like the harsh guitars. They have a different sort of tone to the rest of the songs, which I enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with what you're saying. Like, in the on its own, I'd probably say I hate it. But in the context of the album, I'm like, you know what? It's not for me. But of course it works, because it's not like, oh, we got hardcore, 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 and then this, where you're just like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
A Ceremony. This is a much tighter listen, and I do like the blend of chaotic noise and mellow stops. The clean singing is particularly strong here too. This one works, though, mostly for me, is because what they also do is they keep this really tight, nice, and concise. So it's not fucking around. It's boom, 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 this, and I like that.
Yeah, it's my favorite track off the album, Ceremony. I absolutely love that chorus.
Yeah, it's good.
It does feel really hard hitting. It's very emotional, obviously. It's a Casey album. Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite track on the album. There's not, I don't know how much more I could say about it, other than just like really enjoy it.
Perfect. Cavities. Keeping it sharp and pointed now. This one takes a little while to properly get going, and then when it actually does, it just ends. Other than being extremely intense at times, this one left no impact on me because of how long it took to kind of get there, and then just goes, boom, done.
I get you. I understand. It's difficult. I really like the song, but I don't feel like it does much for me. It's like, I do like this album a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm struggling to see what makes it special with the way I hear people talk about it. And this track is one of those kind of tracks.
I think that's really important, though, because I think it's always really fascinating and interesting when you do kind of hear people crow about something. Of course, one person or two people crowing about an album doesn't mean it is the best thing since sliced. But there are albums that I have called the best things of the year and stuff like that, that people would have completely opposite views on and stuff like that. I just find that always equally fascinating. What are they getting from it that I'm not? Or vice versa. It doesn't make me feel like I'm missing out, because there is so much music available to us constantly every day and so on. There's always something else. But I'm always fascinated by that. As I said at the start, my expectation was that we were going to have a more debatable scenario here, where you were telling me this was the best thing since sliced bread, and I'm going, why? But that obviously isn't the case. You listen to a lot of music, so it's heartening to me, at least, to hear you go, okay, no, this doesn't work or that doesn't work. And it's not just oh, everybody else says it's great, so it must be.
I get you.
We're up to the penultimate track here, where we've got Doubt. And this is the opposite to the previous track. This one is 2 odd minutes of extreme melody. To me, I realized, okay, maybe these are kind of like a sister-brother kind of track going alongside each other. But, and this is probably where I'm going to use words that sound the harshest, I'm at the penultimate track, and I'm like, you know what? Bored of this band now. Wrap it up.
I was kind of thinking that it feels like this should be the last song on the album, and when there's another one, you're like,
well,
you know,
yes, but I'm actually glad another one exists, because the last one, Morning, is one I thoroughly enjoy. I'm glad to see the album coming to an end. The finale is very good. Small progressive touches. It's messier than anything heard so far, but I think they turn it into something quite good. The rising vocals, melodic twang, drop in the clean singing, and slowing everything down before picking up pace again. That's my jam. I really like this as an ending.
I see the kind of the prog come out on this song.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Almost. Yeah, it is definitely interesting. And I think it is a strong song. And it makes up for the fact that maybe you've got to this point and are like, when's this going to end? It makes up for it, I feel.
It does.
It is a very strong track, hits very hard, and it wraps up the album really nicely, I feel.
I agree. I was really pleased because if it kind of ended after Cavities and then Doubt, I'd have been like, ugh. So at least I kind of got that big ending there, at least impressive ending. Okay, right. Top 3 tracks. I think we pretty much covered the album in between the tracks as well. So top 3 tracks. I'll go first. I'll tell you mine. I actually think we might double up a lot here. I have Little Bird, Ceremony, and Morning.
Yeah, say the same.
All 3.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I think that's the first time we've actually had that.
That's incredible. It's even more incredible because, like I said at the start, folks, this was my first time ever listening to this album. So that's what I took from it. Amazing. Oh, that's fantastic. That is Casey, Love Is Not Enough. Are you one of the people we're referring to who think this is the best thing since sliced bread? Or do you feel like we do, where it's like, you know, it's got some very good songs and good themes and all of this, and we like this and we don't like that? You know what to do. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?